Welcome to Real Talk with LaShondra. This is a series about entrepreneurship, leadership, and success I have learned throughout my journey in the construction industry. I'm LaShondra Mercurius, and I have been working in all of these spaces for over 15 years now. I will be sharing my thoughts and experiences about all the topics and also having conversations with amazing guests who navigate those spaces on a daily basis. Everybody, today we are going to talk about how to build a perfect team. Just kidding. There's no such thing as a perfect team, but I want to share with you my experience and what I went through as a business owner with respect to hiring. I talked about this a little bit in my podcast prior to this one when we talked about leadership. The perfect teams are certainly sometimes for a season and sometimes they're for growth. So we're going to be exploring the different phases of hiring that I did, being a business owner, 10 years in the game now. And I'll be sharing with you some of the mistakes that I made and some of the successes that I had. So by no means, even though I own a staffing and recruiting firm and I have been hiring people for the majority of my career, I am no expert. I'm only an expert in learning from the experiences that I've had with hiring different people. So I want to just kind of talk to everyone about, what my experience is like. And if you can learn something from it and take it back and apply it, then great. And if you think that I'm crazy and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, that's great too. So I'll start from the very beginning. When my husband and I first established JLM Strategic Talent Partners, back then it was JLM Staffing Solutions. We changed our name to fit more of what we felt we were about as we figured that out. I actually had a bit of an advantage because I had a partner who I had worked with before, and we had a natural synergy and vibe. It was really easy to kind of get things going because we both knew what to do. We both knew our roles and we did what we had to do. And we had a very similar mentality. So we were very close knit, very tight. So that was great. On the other hand, I think it made it more difficult for us to hire because we had such a strong bond and a strong energy. It's very difficult for a third person to penetrate that. So that was one of the things that I realized starting out, that we needed to open ourselves up. So that was a huge learning lesson, that we had to learn over time. And the other thing that I didn't realize, and I think most people who start businesses, they don't really get this until they're a few years in. When you think about hiring, a lot of times you're hiring based on what you deserve. And I think that for me personally, going into having a business and now hiring for myself, I had a lot of shit to work out. I had a lot of baggage. I had a lot of insecurities that I wasn't even aware of. With respect to starting a business. Now, don't get me wrong, extremely ambitious. I had a plan. I had a vision. I wanted to be successful, but there was a lot of things that I hadn't reconciled within myself. And so when I hired our first person, I hired based on that. I hired someone that I felt was going to do what I said. I hired someone that was going to do the things that were easy for me to do because I hired out of fear. I wasn't ready to give up the reins of the things that I felt weren't easy for me to do. So I was hoarding a lot of information. I was hoarding a lot of the job duties because I was just too afraid that someone was going to come in my company, screw it all up. We were going to fail. The bottom was going to fall out. I mean, everything that you can think of, that's the position that I was hiring from. And I didn't even realize it. So when I got excited about someone, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this person to come in, and thinking that I'm going to have all this relief. The first thing I said was, can you file this piece of paper for me, please? Like the most menial task that you can think of is all I was willing to give. So I can only imagine how that other person must have felt. Probably demeaned. They probably felt like, well, why did you hire me if you're not going to trust me to do what I know that I can do? So it went both ways. And I'm not going to take all the fall for certain people not working out, but I definitely could have done a better job at opening myself up and sharing my vision and sharing what it was that I really needed for the business, and also listening and understanding and asking, well, what is it that you need from me in order for this symbiotic relationship to work? So that's something that I have to learn. And it doesn't matter if you're a new manager, if you're a business owner, we all go through this. We all have insecurities. We all are afraid to fail. We all, get nervous about, am I making the right decision? Is this person going to make me look bad? Are they going to ruin things, beyond repair? I mean, these are all the things that sort of went on in my mind. So if you feel that way and you're nervous or you're insecure, you have anxiety, guess what? That is normal. And I think a lot of times, we're taught that if you have a business, make sure you hire A players. Well, what is an A player? Who knows? It really depends on where you're at, because at that point in time, an A player for me wouldn't have worked. I would have burned that A player down to the ground because I myself wasn't ready to receive an A player. So when you think about the hiring process, there has to be a lot of work on yourself. And then once you do that work, then you'll be in a position to hire what you deserve. And then those relationships can work either for a season or for growth of your company. Once you've sort of laid the foundation for what your company is about, and when I say that, it is extremely important that right away you establish, your mission, your vision, your values, and most importantly, your standards. What are your standards? And put yourself in a position where you can be as transparent as possible, because that's important information that's needed for the individual that's coming in. They have to know what they're dealing with. And once they know that and they still make a choice to come work for you, now you're in a good position. Because the last thing you want is to hire someone and they step into the job and they say, this is not what I signed up for. And that's my fault. So once you've established the foundation, like I mentioned, you got all your stuff ready, you're open, you're exposed. Now think about, what do I need to look for? What type of skill sets, what type of personality, mindset, all that stuff. Now for me personally, what I look for is synergy. I'm a very energetic person, so I want to feel good energy, because that matters. Because if you walk in the door and your energy is always foul and you're Debbie Downer, womp, 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 oh, my back, my toe, oh, I'm tired, I'm hungry. No one wants to hear all that shit. We want people to come in with good energy, that's ready to work, that is going to motivate and uplift people. So that's one thing that I look for in particular. The next thing that I look for is, once I've explained my standards, my mission, my vision, do they connect with it? Because regardless of what their skill set is, if they can't connect with the bigger picture, then it doesn't matter. Because again, I want people to get on my boat. that see where I'm going and want to be a part of the ride. They want to be on my boat. And if you don't want to be on my boat and you're dragging your feet, then it's going to slow me down as a company. We don't want that. So we have to make sure that, that we're aligned, that our standards are similar. Because if my standard is at one level and someone may have great skills, but their standards, are less than what I would require, then we're never going to be a match. I'm never going to get out of that person everything that they can give, and I'm never going to be able to give them everything that I have to give. So that's very important. I mean, obviously, a certain level of skill sets need to be there, but I'll be honest with you, I typically don't like to hire people from my industry because I feel like they've already been programmed to perform and think and have a mindset of a certain way. And one of the reasons why my husband and I established JLM in the first place is because we wanted to be different. We didn't want to be held by corporate standards. We wanted to be able to think outside the box, think bigger, try things, fail. We wanted to be in a position where it was safe to fail. So the expectation that I have when folks are coming in is you cannot be afraid to fail. Because that's where the growth is. That's where we learn the most about our company, about our culture, about our environment, based on what it can withstand. Now, obviously, we're not going to let someone come in and blow up the company. But there are, areas and safe spaces where we can allow people to try new things and not only push the company beyond the boundaries, but push myself. Because it's not an easy thing for me to watch someone do something in a way that I wouldn't do it. As a matter of fact, sometimes it makes me want to jab myself in the eye with a fork and twist it. But that's where my growth is. Because when I have people come in that are willing to go beyond the edge of where I'm willing to go, then it increases my bandwidth. And I'm like, wow, when I looked over that edge, it looked like the bottom was endless, and it's great to have an employee partner turn to you and say, "No, girl, it was only 2 feet deep." Now, not every employee is here to do that. And some people that you hire will do the opposite of that, which is also a good thing because you never know how strong your environment is until it has been tested. And so you're going to have individuals that come in and they're going to seemingly be great. You're going to say, hey, I checked all the boxes. They had everything that I was looking for. And when they come in, there's a different story. Now, what I've learned is, first of all, you have to give people the space to hang themselves. And see, that's one interesting thing about our environment. And some people love it and some people actually hate it. And that's a good thing because we're very intentional and definitive about the direction that we're going. And the only way that we're going to get there is if we have people on board that are 100% aligned with that direction. And so when someone comes in and they're not aligned, it teaches us where our cracks are. It teaches us where we need to improve and be better. It teaches us that we may need to open ourselves up a little more. But at the same time, it also shows me that I don't want someone here that doesn't want to be here. And a lot of times they're not going to say, hey, by the way, I'm coming in every day, but you know what? I actually don't want to be here. And so you have to understand how are they showing up? Are they coming in with a good attitude? Are they finding excuses instead of solutions? Are they doing what they say they are going to do? Or are they just yesing you and then doing what they want to do? So anytime you have that going on, that's a clear sign that they don't want to be here. So being aware of that type of behavior is super important because if you let that go on for too long, the bottom will fall out. And you won't even realize that it's happening if you're not paying attention. Because the one thing about our environment is we give a lot of freedom. We give you freedom to succeed, but we also give you the freedom to fail. And we're okay either way. There's no judgment. It is what it is. And when it's time to go, let them go. So now let's switch gears and talk about how you keep great people. So I'll tell a little story. So have you ever been, I don't know, just out and about? And I'm a girl, so we'll talk about the guy. So you'll see a hunky guy, and he's just, man, he's model material. He's everything. And you see him with an average girl. She's okay. She's good looking enough. And then you think to yourself, how did he get her? That's a nice little technique. What I found is that when you're hiring, you want to date out of your league. Because when you date out of your league, it makes you look better. And so when I think about hiring, great talent and keeping them, I try to hire people that I think are smarter than me, that I think can do my job, that I think could make better decisions, that are more talented. I hire out of my league. And in return, I listen and I say, okay, well, what do you want? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And I make it my job to make sure that I give them all the tools, the freedom, the bandwidth to be great. And I've always set up my company to not make people great, but be the vehicle at which people can show their greatness. And that's what it's about, because that's all anyone wants. There's two things. We want to be loved and we want to be heard. And I think that putting people in a position to be great and to be them best selves is the ultimate loving and hearing on a human level. And I think if an individual feels they have that, then they will stay. And they won't jump ship for extra dollar down the street. Because in the long run, if you're in a position to be great, then everything else will take care of itself. So now looking back, I asked myself the question, well, have I made bad hires? I mean, I absolutely have made good hires, because I am surrounded by some of the most talented people that I've ever been around. And I feel stupid every day I come in, which is a great thing. And half the stuff that my staff is doing now, I can even tell you what they do, to be quite honest. So I'm certainly in a vulnerable position, but it is the best position because I'm watching all of this wonderful talent, help grow my company. But in addition to that, I'm seeing all these amazing individuals grow. And that is, I think, probably one of the most rewarding things that I've found in the hiring process. Now, the question of, well, did I make bad hires? Maybe, maybe not. It's all relative, because every person that didn't work out, I learned something from. I learned how to be better. I think that I used to get angry, a few years ago, when I think there was a young lady that worked for me that I ended up letting go. And I probably didn't do it in the best way. I really didn't think of the human side of when I let her go, because she had done something that I felt was pretty egregious, and I think was worthy of termination. But I didn't give her the space to explain so that she could understand. And I just went ahead and let her go. And boy, oh boy, a firestorm started. She was angry. And what ended up happening was, I would say I was maybe about 5 years in the business, and she was pretty upset, and rightfully so. She deserved to be fired, but I think that I could have landed her a lot softer. She wrote a Glassdoor review, and boy, did that open up the floodgates. And we had never had a bad review up until that point. And I mean, she was sharp, she was savvy, and so she knew exactly where to go. And these jokers from Glassdoor said, "Hey, you just got a review and it wasn't great. How much are you going to pay us to remove it?" And I thought to myself, well, I can just respond, "Oh no, if you want to respond to this review, you have to pay us." And I thought, wow, is this what the world has come to? And I made a conscious decision at that point. I said, you know what? I'm not paying 1 red cent. Let the review stay. Let it stay up there. And anyone who reads that review and it discourages them, then they don't belong here. Because if that review is going to scare you away from an opportunity that you think is right for you, then you're definitely not going to survive here. And that's been my mentality. And once that review went up, there was other reviews that went up, and it used to bother me, and I used to read them all the time. I actually, I don't read them anymore. I have someone else read them and just give me the cliff notes so I know what I need to do to be better or understand how we're being perceived as a company. So it's all great. And what I've learned is that by me not feeding into that and changing who I am or changing my company's vision, goals, and standards to accommodate the few people that couldn't live up to those standards or wasn't a right fit, I thought was compromising my integrity and what I'm really trying to do. So anybody feel free to go and listen and read those reviews and tell me what you think. They're there because that has been my guide to not only being better, but also understanding the type of individuals that are going to come to me and how to deal with that better. So I can say that I've learned from it all. Did I make a bad hire? Because I've just learned so much for those folks that didn't work out, and some of the reviews are just ridiculous. I think someone early on wrote, "Hey, this company is a scam because, they place people and then they charge the company more than they're paying the person." Last time I checked, that was called business, because I'm not sure how you were going to get paid if we didn't have that gap. So again, was that a bad hire? It just let me know, don't hire stupid. So with that said, the flip side of having those reviews is it does repel folks that we don't want. But what it also does, it serves as sort of the first test of the folks that we do want. Because I can tell you, every single person that I've hired, I would say in the last 5 years, have read the reviews, and we've discussed it in the interview process. And I get so excited because the fact that they were brave enough, secure enough to come in and interview with me, even reading all of that, and still want to be a part of JLM, it warms my heart because it lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. And the right thing for us isn't right for everybody, but those people that can understand and attach to that vision and want to be better and want to be great, want to take accountability, want to critically think, want that freedom to go as far as they possibly can go, all are welcome. So in closing, just to sum everything up that we talked about, like I said, I'm I'm only an expert in hiring for myself because I've learned the lessons. I've been through the ups, I've been through the downs. Every environment's different. Every process is different. And obviously, as my company has grown, we have been able to sort of hone in on, the type of people that we want, who we want to attract, the type of positions that we feel are rewarding and have growth potential. That's what we try to put out there. And I think that we're doing a great job. I took a poll and everyone gave me a 10 and I didn't even have to pay them extra. Well, kind of, sort of. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is we got 10s. So there you go. But what I will say for anyone out there that's either, a new hiring manager or an old hiring manager or a young middle-aged hiring manager, who knows? It doesn't really matter where you're at in the process, but you can always learn from all of your mistakes. But the one thing I will say is just never sacrifice your standards, because the best way to go about it is keep your standards high and have no expectations. Because once you begin to lower your standards, then you begin to crack your foundation and you become, what I like to say, wishy-washy. And you can't lead a team having one foot in and one foot out. Your standards are what they are. And either your employees can live up to the standards or they can't. And either way, it's okay. If someone wants to be mediocre, don't judge it. Accept it, and that's okay. If somebody wants to be great, accept it. And make sure that you put them in a position to be as great as they want to be. That's your job as a leader. It's not for you to judge. It's simply for you to evaluate, make good decisions, and provide the resources that people need to leave or people need to stay. And I don't really look at it as firing. You're just inviting them to go be successful somewhere else. Thank you very much for listening. About entrepreneurship, leadership, and success that I have found in the construction industry. If you want to hear more and you want to be a part of our community, follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our newsletter on our LinkedIn profile. If you want to share your thoughts after listening to this episode, feel free to drop a line in our LinkedIn podcast post. Thanks for listening, and we will connect next month.